You're listening to the Ballet Piano Podcast, lifting the lid on dance accompaniment.
Hello listeners and welcome back to the Ballet Piano Podcast. I'm Chris Hobson and as always in the studio with me is the podcast team. We have Matt Gregory.
Hello.
Kiko Hobson.
Hello.
And hashtag David Yao of Instagram.
Hello.
It's never going to get old, the hashtag, is it?
No.
So this week we are going to be talking about Frappe. So we're taking up the tempo. We're going to quick 2/4 or possibly a 6/8 tarantella and we're going to strike. Is that true, David?
It is indeed, Chris.
So tell me, Frappe.
Frappe is the bar work, as we said earlier on, is all about practicing the actions that you're going to do in the centre. And Battement Frappe is all about preparing to jump. Jumping quickly, focusing on the lower leg so that you're pointing your feet very fast and then relaxing very quickly as well. So that's the action. So from a relaxed position, we call coup de pied, the neck of the foot. So you've got your gesture foot relaxed or pointed against your supporting leg, and then you're going to strike outwards the air or the floor, along the floor, to make a stretching movement very, very quickly. So you can either do that to the front, to the side, or the back. And that's really what it is, really. That's the basic idea. You can do it with a supporting leg, with your heel of the supporting leg on the floor, or you can do it on releve of the supporting leg as well. Or fondue.
I was just thinking as well, musically and tempo-wise, if we just look back on the previous episodes which we talked about, we've got slower tempi at the start with plie and tendus. Then we double the tempo or more than do that for glisses and jetés. And then we go back to an incredibly slow tempo for rond de jambe. And then we go up again after the fondue for frappe. So it's big, massive, intense tempo changes constantly, isn't it really? From exercise to exercise. And this is another one.
It is, because you're trying to actually exercise and train the different types of muscles that you need for when you get into the centre. And Battement Frappe is one of those where you need your fast twitch fibres to fire very quickly so that you can get a reaction, like a rebound off the floor, like as if you're on a trampoline. For every movement that we do, just like piano, you start slowly, but then this particular exercise, you're going to aim to be quite sprightly when you do it.
I always think of Frappe as well as being a little bit like the 100 metres.
It is.
You've got to,
it's a dash.
Yeah, it's a dash through it. And sometimes you blink and you miss it, or you can miss it and it goes so quick. Yeah. So, give us an example, David, of how you would set or usually set a frappe.
So let's say we have like 4 counts in, that's 5, 6, 7, and 8 on a 2/4 to prepare the gesture leg. And then we're going to say we're going to do 1 frappe to the front and a hold in the extension, and then 2 frappes to the front and a hold. So we do 1 and hold and 3 and 4. We might do that to the side as well. 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. And if we do a double frappe, which means that you do 2 beats against your or around your supporting leg, and a 1. And hold to the front. Let's do the same to the side, and a 3 and 4. And maybe we'll do something very quickly. We might combine Battement Frappe with petit battement, which is a very small movement around the supporting leg for 4 counts, 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. And there would be your exercise. And then you just reverse that.
So Matt, when you're listening to David, I'm going to put you on the spot now. When you're listening to David setting that, what's going through your mind? What are you thinking about as getting ready to play that exercise? What are you listening to and watching for?
I'm thinking about where the accent is. Mm-hmm. And obviously you've got that hold in there as well, haven't you? So obviously I'm thinking of accenting on that extension and then bringing it in. It's a nice bright 2/4, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. What about you, Kiko? Because you've not said anything yet apart from hello. What are you thinking? Sitting there? Are you dreaming about your next Jaffa cake? Or
yes, I was just looking at the next
Or are you thinking
Jaffa
about what
cake,
you were going to play for David?
No, but when I'm watching a marking of Frappe, I was like, let's have fun. It's so many bright, fun tune that you can play. So it's it is serious, but you can make it quite fun.
It's like, because I think one of us, maybe it was me or somebody else, described glisses and jetés as when you can really start to have fun in the class. And now it's like you're taking that fun up another level when we get to Frappe. So it's simply, because of music and tempo, we're going to go on to more of a coda now as opposed to a real.
I get the codas out for Batman Frappe.
I was always like, wondering, coda, that's not a musical term, is it? So for musicians, how do we say it?
Well, because the coda is a tag on at the end, isn't it? Usually.
Yeah.
And musical definitions
Is
a tag on at the end. Yeah. So you have let's look at a grand pas de deux. You have the pas de deux.
Yeah, but that's ballet.
Yeah. And then you have the solos and then the coda. So, but it's the name of the piece. It's not the musical style of the piece.
Yeah. So if, what is it as a musician? Because I'm so used to calling like coda, which is fast to fall.
Is it like a finale, some sort of?
It's like a gallop, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or it can be like a polka.
Yeah.
Or what's it called? Romeo and Juliet, the dance. Is it the Dance of the Villagers? I don't know. I know
the
it's
fighting
birds.
scene.
Yeah, no, they is also coda-ish. You could play Trish Trash Polka.
Anything that's bright,
yeah,
I think works in this instance, really. Because that's exactly what you would do. Because the movement is very light as well, because you're taking the weight right off the floor. And in some instances, some people do Batman Frappes completely off the floor. So there's no weight there to stop you getting the speed going faster all the time. So that's why it's so exciting for us. Because following like the fondue or the frappe or the rond de jambe, it's like the opposite side of what you've just been doing. So that's why it's really exciting for us. Whatever you play is fantastic.
Where do you go with the petit battement at the end?
So petit battement means small beats. So what you're trying to make on the floor, or in the air or on the floor, is the shape of a very tight V. So starting, let's say, if you put your heel of your gesture foot against the inside front of your ankle of your supporting leg, and you draw with the tips of your toes on the floor and not moving your thigh, a tight V. So you go out, so your toes go under your knee and then back in behind your ankle of your supporting leg with your heel of the gesture leg. That very tight action of a V is half of a petit battement. And the faster you go, again, just doing that repeatedly to the front and to the back, becomes small beats. Okay. So you're starting to think about how do you hold your thigh and move your lower leg very, very quickly, which is the ultra fast movement of a beat.
Right.
So the frappe is like a jump. You're trying to point your feet very quickly from a plie, and the petit battement might be something that you're going to do with your lower leg in the center, or start imagining what the shape of a beat in the center when you beat your legs is going to be. It's going to be a very tight V shape.
Okay, so it's
preparation. So it's preparation for those kind of things.
Yeah. And then if you've been really cruel, you could add a releve or a balance on the end.
You could indeed.
Just and straight to the other side.
Exactly, yes.
And I don't know, after the frappe exercises, I feel like that's where the biggest balance is.
It's
in an open position.
For me, it's all like contrast all the time, because after rond de jambe, which you've been very slow, you suddenly go much faster for your petit battement, speed it up for the battement frappes, and then speed it up for the petit battements, and then suddenly you stop completely and you start to balance, and your heart is racing, but you have to stand as if you are still, but you're not still. You're really lengthening your body in all directions, but it looks like you're a statue.
Yeah.
So it's really difficult to do.
Yeah, and I've been asked to play the balances a little under tempo.
Right.
It might just be 8 counts,
yes.
which on this quick 2/4 will be over very quickly.
Yes.
Or 16 counts. Yeah. But just to pull it back.
Yes.
Just so, because they're finding that big open position.
Exactly. Because it's very difficult to go from one pace to another.
So when we're setting the frappe and the petit battement, what I'm always looking out for when I'm trying to plan my repertoire is, first of all, how long is the frappe exercise? Is it square? Is it 32 beats, 32 counts long, or 64? Then is there a petit battement on the end? Is there a balance on the end? And then does it go over to the second side or not?
Yeah.
Because then you can sort of like start to work through your Rolodex of repertoire or your databases of repertoire and work out what you're going to play for each section. And does anybody else try and sort of like either play different melodies or the different sections of whatever you're playing to respond with the frappe, the petit battement, and the balance?
Well, if I'm playing a coda, I'll keep that all the way through the whole exercise. And if they go for a balance, I'll probably just pull it back in dynamic and tempo. And then it's really exciting when they say, all right, go on to the second side. And then you go back to that first tempo, which just is a bit brighter than the balance you've just done. Yeah. And so, you know, it's like, here we go again, another 100 meters. And then we do it all over again. And it's still quite exciting. I mean, I'll probably change the tune up.
Yeah. But
it's a different tune, but I defo keep that meter. Yeah, for sure.
Like that. Yeah, if something's good, it's worth giving twice, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Damn right. I really like, Kiko hates this because it used to be my alarm clock for a while. But on a Monday, playing Boomtime Rats, tell me why I don't like Mondays. My favourite frappe.
And I had to listen at 6 a.m. on Monday morning when I'm waking up. It's not fun.
Where does everybody else sit with repertoire for frappes?
Anything that's umcha. Yeah. So I play I Enjoy Being a Girl from the Flower Drum song, which is Rodgers and Hammerstein. Yeah. And if I'm doing the balance bit, I will keep the umcha, but take out the melody.
Okay, so you just umcha.
And then it just pulls it right back. And then when we go into the second side, I'll put the melody back in.
For the balance, I always like to play the final countdown.
I like, I think everybody does, but I like playing Simpsons. I think it's quite fun.
Yes, it is fun.
And I always get some giggle from the teachers or dancers, which is quite nice.
I mean, there's a lot of repertoire, isn't there? There's a specifically TV theme repertoire that you can throw in, or old 80s things.
Yeah, or Broadway musicals that are in quick twos. Yeah, it all works.
I used to like Black Beauty for a coda as well.
That was fantastic.
And what else was there? This theme from Dad's Army. Who do you think you are kidding, Mr. Hitler? Dallas can be in there. Wallace and Gromit. There's so many of them.
I play in the Hall of the Mountain King as well. But I can play it really low or really high.
And nice and speedy.
Yeah.
Depending on the accent, but I sometimes play a very, very fast tango. And it does work quite good. But you got to absolutely know the accent to make sure that it fits, because it doesn't fit with every single exercise. But it does, if it does fit, it's quite nice, crispy, strong accent to give it to the frappe exercise.
Something else I do on frappes as well is if I'm playing a melody, I'll sort of make it a little bit dissonant by playing notes that are a semitone apart.
Yeah.
You know, because it's just a little bit jarring, and the frappe action is just that, isn't it? Yes. It's nice and prickly.
Yes.
And that little bit of dissonance, it just makes it a little bit more intense.
There's frizzle about it, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Does anybody else, I've not been asked to for a while, but frappes on a tarantella or an incredibly quick 6/8?
Sometimes, but not.
It's not often, is it?
Yeah.
It tend to stick more with the coda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've played frappe on a 3. Yeah, it's not often.
Usually when you're trying to teach something, first of all, then you slow it down for like a 3 or something. But you're trying to aim for that fast action, the firing of the other muscles. That's what it's really about.
Just thinking through my head then of a standard, a relatively standard frappe exercise. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. I was thinking back to the way that this teacher used to set the tarantella. It was 1, 2, and 3. So it was exactly the same meter. It was just, maybe mentally it was perceived that there was slightly more room in between the counts because there was 3 as opposed to 2, even though it took the same amount of time in the real world.
Yeah.
When you're thinking about your tunes that you're going to play, when you've learned them and you've learned them in a different key, how hard is it when you have to think very quickly and you want to actually segue into another tune to think, now, I'm going to play it in this key where I learned it in the other key? What's that like?
There's 2 schools of thought here, isn't there? Now, let's go with Clever Clogs in the corner.
Of me?
Yes.
Well, because I've got perfect pitch, I could play, technically any key. But having said that, there are a few keys that, my fingers are not very comfortable with. And then I plan to switch from one tune to the other. And then something happened with the transition, and I end up playing in the key that my fingers are not very comfortable with, and I'm just really sweating myself to just get through the exercise without making any wrong chords or wrong notes, which is a bit challenging.
I've usually got it planned out of where I'm going to go whilst the exercise is being set, and if I've ended up going down a different road and I've ended up in a different key than I intend on doing, I'll just be really really cheesy and just stick in the world's biggest glissando, and then because you can go from anywhere with that, just finish it off, and you can just up the glissando, up, down, brand new key, no one's noticed, everyone thinks it's great because you've had a load of notes, and then you can start again. It's always like flicking onto a new page of a book.
I mean, that semitone lift is quite easy to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure we all do that, but there's things I know in every key, which is obviously very easy to. If you're going from one thing to another, you know it in every key, so that's fine. But I don't know if anybody knows Ernest Creswick.
No.
He used to play at the Studio Centre. I sat and watched him play for class one day, and he played everything, but nothing was in the key that it was written in.
Okay.
Like all these MT, all these classical music. He was playing everything, and I know them as well, and I know what keys they're written in. None of them were in the keys that they were written in that he was playing, but like a third up or something random.
Sorry, I probably do the same.
I was going to say you do exactly the same. So I walk past your studio.
I don't know the original key.
Like in the days when I used to go outside often for breaths of fresh air, which I don't do anymore, but when I used to go out every 30 minutes for fresh air, I'd walk past your studio and you'd be thinking, that's not in that key. And you'd be playing in D flat and it would be in F or,
Sorry.
Just noticed it.
Do you have a favourite key you like to play in?
Easy key.
Exactly. Is there a key that's your favourite?
Easy one is like for I think anybody like C major, F major, G major. No?
Well, the guy that taught me to play for ballet class, who's sadly no longer with us, he says the black keys are better, and I sort of agree with him. E flats, A flats, D flats, G flats. I do
G
like
flat.
Yeah.
Depends on what it's for, doesn't it? As well, like Misty. Say we've talked about Misty loads, but if you do that in E flat,
Yeah.
in its traditional key of E flat, it's got a much more welcoming and luxurious feel to if you play it in D major.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is only, it's only up one. Oh, sorry, D major's down one note, but I don't know. There's something about the way it
it's
sounds.
probably where the melody sits on the keyboard as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
And it's also maybe because the way that these songs have been sang, or you've heard them so often, so they're ingrained somewhere in your head in a particular key. Even if you're not musical, you know what they sound like because of what key they're in, and you've heard it so many times.
Yeah, I'm just asking because like dancers always have like a favourite side, like you're right-handed or left-handed, and there's one side you favour more than the other, even though you have to do both sides. But for pianists, I'm just wondering whether you have a favourite key that you like to play in.
And then any key we play, do dancers notice?
It kind of like it emotionally stirs you in different ways when you change. That's why I was asking, also because it does make a difference.
And they notice that little semitone lift. If I have to put that in, that's all. Now,
it
they
feels like
that.
the home run when you go up that semitone.
That last 16 bars of 3/4
Here we
up
are, we're nearly there.
the semitone. maybe that could be our latest merchandise, a T-shirt that says "up the semitone."
I actually have a question to the teacher, David. I always thought the Frappe is like, as you explained, it's a strike and it's quite like, jolly, fast music. And then I feel like, dancer has to get on with the speed you're given. And then sometimes I come across with the teacher or particular exercise that the teacher say, no, we need a lot slower. The same music, but a lot slower because whatever the reason it is. And what's the difference?
It's because the action you're trying to train is so quick that sometimes the students need more time to actually get their whole body around that action. So you slow it down and you hold that position in extension for that very reason, because you want to train the correct muscles. Just like when you learn how to do like a scales or something, you start very slowly. And then as you get more proficient at it, you start speeding up. It's the same thing with the action of Frappe.
So it's more like a training purpose.
Exactly.
And the process of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in the technicality of that exercise, do you want them to focus more on the out, the extension, or spend more time in the out position? Because then it's quick in to go back out again, isn't it?
I tend to, because that's the action of rebound off the floor that I want the students to understand that's different.
Yeah.
And to stand at what we call, when we're jumping, to look as though you're standing in the air, I want them to actually hold the extension for longer, so you get the extension, the muscle, tone in the correct way when you're holding it for a long time.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to, when I'm doing frappes. That's what I want them to do. I want them to stand in the air. So I ask them to hold the extension for longer.
When you're doing frappes, is it helpful or unhelpful if we start messing about with hang on, let me say, with things like when you're on the balance at the end or whatever, or start playing on the offbeats, or just doing one chord every few counts and to see what happens?
I guess it depends on what you're aiming for that week. Perhaps if you have a themed class of that week. So what I love about what you play is that at the beginning of the week, it's very straightforward. And by the time we get to near the end of the week, you've then started to adapt. And that's what's exciting because it's never the same anymore. And so it doesn't become boring because the students have to listen carefully because they don't know what's coming next. So that, for me, I really enjoy it.
If you've got the same teacher and the same dancers for 5 days, you know that you're going to do a similar class, so you can sort of musically go on a journey, not just through that one class, but for the whole week, can't you?
And it breathes new life into the exercise.
Exactly.
If the choreography probably be the same, and the technique is the same, or maybe getting a bit quicker. But your music, it's going to breathe life into the exercise.
Exactly. Do you know what I did after the last break that we went, oh no, maybe it was back end of last year, straight back into the studio, picked your baton on, was like, not played the piano for 3 weeks. Fight scene from Romeo and Juliet. What a mistake that was. That was 16 bars of self-created hell. It was just like, blah, 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 blah. It's like, God.
I saw one pianist play the Chopin Studies, I think Opus 10 number 4, G sharp minor. No, C sharp minor. Sorry, C sharp minor.
Why?
I was like, why do you make so much effort for 1 minute long exercise? But he was managing.
God, are they showing off, or was it just...
I don't know. I don't
their
really know
favourite?
why he played, but it must be his rep to
All
play
right,
for
and then
Frappe.
at the same time, it's like you got me upstairs on next door, possibly playing the theme tune from Black Beauty or Wallace and Gromit.
When choosing repertoire, though, you've got to think who you're playing for, who's the teacher, what day of the week is it, what time of day is it, where are they at in their season or their term, because sometimes if the teacher's being quite strict that day or you're disciplining, you want to support them.
Yeah,
you don't want to distract from their teaching style that day.
And depending on how the class has been going, if you then rock up and play the theme tune from Teletubbies, it can look like you're completely taking the mickey out of
What is the theme tune for the Teletubbies?
Tinky Winky.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
I know. Well, on that note, I've confessed my love of TV theme tunes, including Teletubbies, so I think I'm going to bring the episode to a close now before I really do say something I don't think I should do. Anyway, so that's it. And make sure that you join us next time when we are going to be discussing Adagio and Rond de Jambe en l'air. Also, sharing is caring. We all know that sharing is caring, don't we, Matt?
Absolutely.
So what we'd like to ask is, if you're enjoying our podcast, you're enjoying what's coming into your ears, why not just tell one of your friends or colleagues about it? Because there is no recommendation like a personal recommendation. That sounds cheesy, and it is, but it's true. And on that note, it's goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Bye-bye.
Bye.